Okay, I've got 40, I've still got 401. We call it Executive Committee meeting of the Central Vermont uh, Regional Planning Commission to order. Welcome, Lee, Michael, and Hassan. Peter's here, sitting here in the office. Good to see him. Gives a chance to see who's what some of the employees look like. Yeah. Okay, any adjustments to the agenda? Christian hasn't mentioned any, and nobody, I don't see anyone from the public. Hassan, go ahead. And can you give us an update on our financials?
Yeah, so we're looking at the financials through February, and hopefully my screen's coming through.
Yes.
So look at the financials through February, and our surplus is about the same as last month. It was around 236,000 last month. So this is the first 8 months of the year, and at the same time last year, we're about 105,000, and it's a lot higher this year just because of our invoicing on the quiz program. It's not only because of the town dues. Actually, it's actually for 3 reasons. One is the ACCD invoice, which is larger for the retainage. Our town dues are about 80,000 of that, and the biggest chunk of it is actually the indirect, which we are collecting based on our current agreement with the state. That will be revised in FY26. But that's the surplus where we're at today. In terms of our billing, our AR is a little bit higher as well, again, from the ACCD side. It's about $338,000. Cash collectively between all of our different accounts is about 1.47, so that's pretty high. It's been high as the last year, as you guys have seen. Separate from that, we also have about $40,000 in the MRC checking account that's not included in the above balances. So from the assets moving to the liabilities, obviously our liabilities have been pretty good. Our payables are pretty low, somewhere in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. On the payable side, our time off that we accrue owed to our staff is about $2,200 to $2,500. Collectively about $25,000. That's pretty good. This will get spent down as the summer months come up, so you'll see this drain down by the time we get to June, and continue to go down as the rest of summer as we go through the summer months. So from our cash balance, some of that's cash that we have already received for work that will be coming up in the months ahead. And that deferred balance is here. It's about $686,000. So if you look at the difference, we have about 1.4 in cash here, about 686,000 of it as deferred. Some of that's in AR. And then the difference of it all will be our net assets, which is about $1,085,000 at the end of February, and it was about 660,000 last year. And just a reminder, this will most likely go down as a year gets to a close, and as we get a lower indirect cost rate for next year, this balance wouldn't trim down. In terms of our profit and loss, so that was our balance sheet. That's where we're at from the snapshot on the date of February 28th. In terms of our balance sheet, of our profit and loss statement, we're 8 months of the year, so we should be about like 67% done. Our revenue is about 44%, which is a little bit below our target. And again, a lot of that's because that big chunk of the quiz money is not recognized every single month. It comes in bigger chunks. And on the expense side, even though our wages are about close to track, we're about 62% of the budget, but the rest of our budget, which also includes our contractor expenses, is a little bit below budget. So we're at 39%. So the difference of 5% of our budget is that surplus. Kind of went through that a little quick, but happy to go back through and answer any questions. Leave space for comments if anybody wants to add comments. Turn it over to you guys. Yeah.
I'll make the motion. We accept the financials for ending 2/28/2025.
I'll second it.
Motion on the floor to accept the financials. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? Here none. Motion passes 4-0. I was waiting to see if somebody was going to come up with a question. I should have known you're going to have the question.
No, I didn't this time.
Thank you, Hassan. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, everybody.
See you next month.
Yep. See you.
Next item on the agenda is contract agreement authorization. I think we have 3 contracts.
3 contracts, 2 for authorization, one's under the FYI threshold.
Mhm.
And I believe those are all Brian's to discuss. You have the master agreement with Clean Water Partners,
Mhm.
Lincoln AgriSource LLC as the first one.
You ready?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so, this is just another firm that we have recruited to, initiate a master agreement with as part of the Clean Water Service Provider Program. These folks are not necessarily as experienced as we would like with the full range of water quality work, but they do have, a few things going for them. One, they are actual construction firm. We've only pre-qualified one other construction firm. And the other piece that I think lends strong support for approval for Christian to sign the agreement is that they have experience with a couple of the emerging project types that Department of Environmental Conservation is working on, and in particular related to forestry related projects.
Where are they located?
I think Randolph. Yeah, I think they're in Randolph. I can
Oh, no kidding.
go double check, if you want. I don't
And
remember. off the top of my
we
head, but
went
they're
through,
in the
we went
region.
through a proposal in shortlist.
I'm sorry?
Did we go through a proposal selection? When we selected them, or was it from a master?
So this is not to give them any work. This is basically to initiate a master agreement so that.
And how did we select them? Based
uh,
on proposals, I assume.
Yeah, so we've had an open call
Yeah.
for additional engineer and construction contractors as part of this, and they heard about some of the work that we've been doing through someone else they knew, and they reached out to us directly, and then both Lincoln and I had conversations with them about sort of their vision for what they want, what aspects they want to get involved in, and forestry was definitely a big one. They also, just as a side note, were hired by the Agency of Transportation to do a bunch of the cleanup work on the Great Brook in Plainfield, following last summer's storm. So they did a lot of in-stream work and a lot of restoration following their in-stream work. So they're, I think they're well suited for that. And the lead person, he had a statewide role at Forest Parks and Rec at some point, and then not too distant past as well.
So I mean, they're well qualified, it's just, and they have not been selected for any specific projects at this. This is just a master service agreement.
Yeah, so they haven't been yet, but the goal with bringing in additional engineers and construction contractors is to make it easier for them to get work. And at least initially, I would recommend that any of our project implementers sort of tailor work that they might ask this firm to do to that sort of more narrow range related to forestry and even potentially operations and maintenance. So post-project implementation work that they could take on, which is another area where no one's been beating down our door to offer those services either.
So we need a motion to authorize the executive director to sign a master services agreement with Lincoln AgriSource.
So move.
Michael makes a motion. Lee seconds. Thank you, Lee. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes for, oh, I'm sorry, Janet, I didn't see you join. Did you
I'm
listen?
here now.
You're as quiet as a church mouse out there. It's all your knitting stuff in the back that was muffling all the sound, I guess.
In my inner sanctum. Now, come on.
Okay, did you listen to this whole conversation? Do you want to vote on it or not?
You're muted.
Yeah,
I will vote yay.
okay. Motion passes.
I read it
5-0.
over.
Okay, 5-0. Then next one, Brian.
So the next project, you've seen a version of this come before you once, but there's sort of two different things going on here. One is that we got further clarification from DEC about their expectations for the first portion of the project, which led to a revised budget request. While that was ongoing, we also got approval from DEC to expand the project to include a nearby private culvert. So the initial project was really about stabilizing a gully next to the road. Then we had to go through DEC, and DEC had to make some internal deliberations about the water body that the culvert was servicing and whether or not it's perennial and whether it would be eligible for formula grant funds based on some surrounding additional in-stream structures. We got DEC to yes on that, so we need additional engineering work to produce a design for the culvert. So what started out as just a gully stabilization is now a gully stabilization and culvert replacement, which is why you see this request coming, well, that and the increase request for funds is why you see this coming for you. This project has been approved by the Basin Water Quality Council. We took it back to them because the change in funding was significant and the change in scope was also significant. So we took it back to the Basin Water Quality Council, got their approval, and now we're back here with you to seek your approval as well.
Why do we need to update the master service?
An addendum.
So it's an addendum to the master agreement. So every time,
Oh, every time we do a
Yeah.
contract under the
Under the master agreement.
MSA, we do an addendum. Okay,
exactly, yep.
okay.
Yeah, so each new project is an addendum.
Yeah.
So you'll see that this is addendum number 2 for them.
Yeah.
Addendum number 1 is for the project they're working on in Waitsfield for us.
Okay. We need a motion to authorize the executive director to sign an MSA addendum.
So moved.
Peter makes a
Seconded.
motion. Dan in seconds. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. And
That's it for me.
Christian, you're gonna
Okay.
update.
Perfect.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick update on the third one. It's related to our brownfield program.
Yeah.
It's a phase 1 at the old Desero machine location. It has been reviewed and approved by the brownfields group. And
This is the
wait,
subcommittee.
sorry, yeah, this
Yeah.
is an update to a phase 1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And it's below the threshold. It's 2,600.
This
So
is,
it's
this
small.
isn't just this is an FYI.
It is an FYI, so no action required.
Okay, so I have a question. Who are we doing this for?
Who are we doing this for? Who came forward with
Me.
the?
Oh, this is for this is for the city of Barry?
City of Barry. This is one of our buyouts.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
so because it's an industrial site, it needs a clean bill of health before we buy it and tear it down.
Okay, I was just wondering why we're cleaning up or looking at Desero machine property, this private property.
Yeah.
We typically, these companies get bankrupt or something and we're stuck with the cleanup.
Yeah, there are some-
That's, it's for the city of Barry, I understand. that.
Yeah, and there are some
And then-
guardrails on who we can provide this for and rules about what gets
Yeah.
funded
So
for.
I just wanted, that was my question. Okay, so we don't need any. No, that's an update. Thank you, Christian, and good luck, Jana. Thank you. Okay,
Sure, I can jump right into the
and
next.
the ADA procedures and language use plan, okay.
So this is an extension. We reviewed the Title VI plan the last meeting. These are 2 other complementary documents, just basically providing an avenue for folks to complain. A complaint form or to file a complaint.
Mhm.
And the second is the policy, the language access policy. So it's just, we have a clear path laid out for how someone might cure or how you might be able to provide services and access to someone with limited English proficiency.
Right.
It's all part of the requirements we need to meet under our federal funders, namely, the Agency of Transportation.
Okay. If those of you who read this, it says language access plan, LAP, and then it refers to LEP in the document. And I was confused until I went back and reread it, and it's limited English proficiency is LEP.
We appreciate your attention to detail.
Yeah. And we need a motion for that? Just motion include to accept it, or
To approve, yeah, I guess you gotta,
to review and approve the commission's, yeah. Is requested the
88.
committee approve the commission's ADA compliant procedures and language access plan.
Correct.
Okay,
So moved.
we have a motion by Peter,
I'll second it.
Michael seconds. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Here, nothing. None, motion passes 5-0. And that's for both. Yeah, okay, that's.
Yeah, no reason to think all happen in one motion.
Okay, Christian, want to give us an update on the salary
Yeah, yeah.
range?
Salary
Update.
range updates. So, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
And per our policy, we try to review this every 2 years. I looked at, CPI as reported by, who did I use? Bureau of, Labor Statistics. Look at the CPI for the Northeast. And based my estimate, increases on that for the mid and low, mid and high. Well, the mid's just an average of the high and low, and then rounded to the nearest 100. I kept it a little,
Okay, and
Broad.
this first. Table, this is from the CPI.
so the
Uses-
current is our current wage range, so
Yeah.
current wage taking the ED is.
Okay,
90
these are our.
Current, yep,
Okay, and the proposes is the with the CPI.
yep, we move it from 96 to 128,
Yeah,
yeah, first line. Now, the one exception to this, well, there's 2 exceptions, but one exception is the finance manager had a greater increase, and this is based off of market reality. We just went through the process, well, we've been going through the process for about 8 years of trying, not quite 8 years, about 8 years of trying to hire a finance manager. Happy to announce that we have one. They'll work for LCPC
Yeah.
under contract with through LCPC. That's how we're gonna funnel the agreement. And their rate came in, what would have been annualized above what our old rate was for the financial manager. So, I mean, that's why I moved this one particularly a bigger bump, because were they to leave in a year and we were to go back to the market, I think that's where we need to be for that kind of skills and experience. Now, the individual we got while we're talking about it, I guess I can go into it in a little detail. Deidre Gish, she has 8 years experience working for the Two Rivers Ottawa-Kichi Regional Commission. So not only is she experienced, but she's experienced in the world of RPCs. She knows about our audits, she knows about our books, our grants. She's done it all. She left the RPC world because she wanted to try other things. That was right before COVID, and then was kind of trying to piece together similar work in the interim until she finally saw this offer and thought it was a good time for me to come back. So we're excited to have her joining in the beginning of May. May 8th will be her first day in the office here. She'll be May 7th. She'll be up in Morrisville. At the
We're doing 50-50 or?
50-50, we each get 20 hours is how we're starting. Understanding that payroll is not payroll. Many of our grants and invoicing are identical, so I don't think it would be weird if she were processing some of those things, almost working for us both at the same time.
Sure.
But we'll crack it. We don't know exactly what her rate will be. It'll be a small what we'll be paying for these contracted services will be a small increase over what we pay Ajaz. So it still comes out to, I think, a pretty good deal. But we don't have that
Will
much.
she be fully on board by July 1, so we.
She will
release
be
this on-
fully on board by July 1, and Essen will, Essen, I should say, Ajaz Group will, end their services July 1, but we'll keep them on a retainer
Mhm.
through probably the end of the year, calendar year, just for audit.
Okay,
Yeah, I talked to him about that, and he's actually supportive of it, and he's happy for us, but,
good.
yeah. So I'm optimistic that we got a good candidate, and the reason we were able to do that is because we paired up and were able to offer a competitive salary.
It sounds like a good working agreement.
I think so. I
Who,
think so.
who's the current Memorial County?
Tasha Wallace, she's
That's
a
right. Okay,
former
yeah, she used to be
commissioner of
Buildings and
BGS.
Grounds, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
Building and General Services, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, I think it's a good working
Yeah,
relationship. And then I also compared rates, so this is just the flat proposal I'm making over on the
Yeah.
first page, and then you see some comparisons with the VAC survey we do.
Yeah, any questions? Any comments? We need a motion.
These will be effective, July 1
Um,
or now, or
Yeah.
what?
It'll be effective immediately.
Hmm.
It's to, but they don't change any salaries, it's just the way,
Yeah.
the area in which I'm able to work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When is our raise go into?
July 1.
They usually go July
Yeah,
1st,
I've
but that's
tried-
based on a fiscal year.
Yeah, I've tried to homogenize that. Sometimes they'll have one or two people off balance, just off
Yeah.
schedule, just if they're new to the organization. Yeah, right there.
So we need a motion to adopt the revised salary range. Schedule, wage schedule.
Yeah, it's got our hand
Janet,
Motion to approve.
you need a second? Michael? You have a motion on the floor to adopt the revised wage schedule for existing staff descriptions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes 5-0. And, oh, yeah, the Memorial Scholarship.
Yep. Yeah, I'll start off, and then, if I miss anything, you can chime in. We talked about this with staff, and they had a really great idea that we wanted to bring back to you, that this could be a memorial. I think this is an idea you all brought up, the idea of an internship.
Mhm.
And they had a great idea, which would be at some point in the spring or early summer, we solicit proposals from our municipalities for a project or a need that they're witnessing. We would bring in an intern to fill that need, sort of embed them with the municipality for a year to support that issue, working out of our office, but they would work specifically with a municipality
Be it full-time?
full-time.
Can you think of a place where, could you have an example? Janet must have
I was
one.
gonna say, Jan, I'm sure.
I'm sure she's gonna find one now. I hope she would.
I need bodies so bad.
You know, it's not money, it's people.
Yeah, I think we've had enough conversations with Janet. I believe there's demand out there. I know the town of Plainfield has brought on a 1-year kind of assistant emergency management planner that they're housing for a year, and they'll come in, work with us a little bit too. So I think there are these projects out there, especially as we're going through this flood recovery and thinking about mitigating towards the next event. Towns have things they want to work on and not necessarily professional planners to do them.
We're talking what? Total cost 30-40,000? 40,000, I would guess.
Yeah, we can look at our newly approved
least,
salary
I mean,
ranges. I would think they'd be somewhere in the assistant, somewhere between a planning tech and 35 to 45, somewhere in there.
That include benefits and more, another 30%.
Yeah.
We just think, we need to think this through, so
Yeah.
we know we have budget for it.
No,
I'm
we
not,
we don't have a.
it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, we haven't budgeted for it in the 26 year yet. So it will be budget contingent.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of that first position we look to fill every year, and
And
I
it's
like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
it's I think a real way
somebody who's taken a year out of school.
well, maybe they could.
Yeah.
They could. take a year off or someone recently graduated. The idea is just to introduce people to, the civil service and working for municipalities specifically, which I think is very much in line with, Steve's work and career.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and let's make sure it's named after Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can decide whether we want to continue this or,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
nothing's permanent, but I think it would be both effective.
So
valuable.
are we looking at starting in FY 27 or are we looking at revising FY 26 budget?
Well, we don't have an adopted a 26 budget yet either.
Okay.
does that come up next month?
That comes, it's probably worth previewing it in, this is our April.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Goodness,
Yeah, we're
well, we
getting-
have a budget, don't worry, I'll start. Playing with it, fiddling the.
Oh, wait a minute,
fiddling the-
I got something
fiddling
here.
with the bits of it there, just before coming in. Yeah, I can talk to Essen about where we are and have him take another look and see if there's room in there. I'm always a little,
We're running under budget
this year, yeah,
this year.
yeah.
And
And
so-
next year, well, okay, so we have our finance person coming in. They are not gonna cost us really anything extra, maybe a little bit on the margin. I'm also hiring for a municipal sort of service focused position. That could be anywhere, that ideally will be a senior person who's worked in municipalities who can help with some of the FEMA grant work, or now that we're getting into the project phase, the FEMA emergency response is passed. Now we're getting into the mitigation projects. Someone who can do project management for municipalities under the contract, under the construction contract, that kind of thing. So that's another position I'm hiring, and I still do have a healthy balance.
You'll have some overlap for a couple of positions as well.
Right, yeah, and we'll have some overlap with, as we bring on a new office manager, which we need to advertise for as well.
Finance and IGIs.
Yeah, finance digest, that's all this fiscal year, a little bit of
That's right.
overlap next year. So let me check in with, Jazz and see what our flexibility is next year.
Or hopefully we do this year, or in.
Okay,
Yeah, it would be nice.
let me
If
do
you're
it.
gonna hire somebody by September to
Yeah,
latest.
exactly, and they'd stay on for a full year.
Yeah.
September to September might be a good rhythm.
Okay, any comments, any questions from the committee? Michael, looks like your brain is working on this, so.
No, it isn't actually. It's a little, sounds good. Sounds like,
And I think Janet, and we know Janet could use some help over there. I'm sure you could come up and think of something we can.
I've had an associate planner in my budget for 2 years. It's been unfilled. And it just got taken away from me. So it's off the table. So more and more, someone like me has to seriously turn to the RPC, Montpelier, us, we're big enough. Normally we don't really need the RPC for things, but Berry City's been in a budget deficit now for 2 years. So I'm really excited about this because I know that our planners can always need help in some capacity.
Yeah,
Okay, so we need a
In
motion to approve.
actuality, it would also
To
be
move
good
it,
to
they just
have,
want a consensus.
if Janet's gonna have shovel-ready project for the individual, that would be, that's a lot easier than, so we say, just shotgunning it out there and getting 45 different proposals.
yeah,
Type of thing. So, especially like for the first year, and then once we see how things work, then, we can open it up more.
yeah, I think that's right. So next steps, we don't have an action on our agenda, so I don't think we're gonna take an action today. Could simply be as part of our budget, it's brought into,
Well, we can get a consensus. that the-
yeah, I think
the
consensus is
commission
important, and
like-
it could all, the budget could also go to the full commission for their,
Well, we probably should, but
yeah,
right now,
get their buy-in.
let's flesh this
Okay.
out, so you get a little bit more how you're gonna pay for it.
Yep.
And then we can bring it to the commission, but can we get a consensus from the committee? And I know Janet's nodding her head, and Lee.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, Michael, I
Yeah,
think you could.
all of the towns in the region can use this help. Someone can
Yeah.
become, the flood ready specialist. There's so much more that zoning administrators and municipalities need that they can't afford to staff, and we're really turning to the RPCs. So I think this is a great first step for us.
I would concur.
Yeah, okay, I think you got,
We'll come back with a job description. How about that?
yeah, thank you, Kristen, that's a great idea.
Well, staff, somewhere between
Well-
fellowship and
Mm.
just a roundtabling the idea, they really,
Yeah.
some light bulbs went off. It was
Well-
cool.
Well,
That's
tell them
good.
we appreciate it, because that,
That's it. All input gratefully accepted.
this started out, I thought we should do something in
Yeah.
Steve's name, and
Mhm.
this is probably even better than just a scholarship.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's neat.
Well, next item is the meeting minutes from March 3rd.
Move the meeting minutes.
Have a motion, Lee seconds. Any comments, any questions? Being none, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, and no abstentions? Obviously, everybody's voted, so motion passes 5-0. And commission meeting agenda.
Commission meeting agenda. Did we ever get confirmation from Josh?
I have not received confirmation yet. I was gonna follow up tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
So legislative update, which we usually do
Yeah.
at our April meeting,
Hmm.
is contingent on VCLT being available and interested in joining us. So let's, when we do pass a motion, make it contingent on availability or something like that. Then the big item is appointment of vacant committee seat to the
Mhm.
executive committee. The not personnel policy bylaws state that is from the floor at the next commission meeting, for the sake of going as.
I guess
quickly as possible.
everyone is aware that
Oh, yeah.
Lexi is resigned from the committee.
Yes,
That she just had too much other stuff from Michael.
I was just saying, I wasn't aware, but we haven't seen her for quite a while, so.
yeah. Yep, she resigned from the commission, I suppose effective town meeting day.
Uh-huh.
I thought she sent them out. I saw it, but I didn't, maybe she didn't send it to everybody.
I saw one early on, followed up with her and just didn't hear back, so I think she really is.
She left a
got lot going
comment
on.
on my phone, and I got back to her, but I never heard back.
Okay,
Yeah, she just had too many other things, and Warren has appointed somebody already.
yeah, we have a new member, James
Crafts.
Crafts. And he's already attended some of our committee meetings just because he was interested. So excited to have some new perspectives on the commission. With regard to a new member, what the nominating committee has offered to do, those who are attending class, is look at those who are interested in joining the executive committee next year and potentially nominating from the floor under, let them get started a couple months early if they're interested in joining. And then, of course, anybody else is welcome to be nominated from the floor at the meeting. Any questions there?
Any other questions or comments on the proposed agenda? So we need a motion to accept the agenda for next Tuesday's meeting contingent on the legislative update to be contingent on Josh being, or Vermont League of Cities and Towns being able to submit.
Yeah.
Have somebody available.
No moved.
Janet? Lee? Okay, a motion on the floor to accept the proposed agenda with contingent upon the VLCT being available. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any opposition, hearing none. Yeah, Any abstentions? I'm sorry. Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. The next item is the committee roundtable. Christian, you had, I think you
I
and Nancy
did.
were discussing something.
You just covered it.
I did mainly just cover it when we were talking about, one of the things that sparked my memory to adjust the payroll ranges is that, the difficulty we're having when we were going through hiring a finance manager. And then along this, at the same time, I want to also just, state that we're soliciting for this sort of municipal focused, project manager, really. And we're getting strong applicants, people with direct FEMA experience, people with direct municipal experience. So we might really be able to have someone come in and bring some new skills to the organization that we haven't been able to find in recent solicitations. So I will keep you updated as that progresses.
Any other?
That would be great, Christian, in that I know our town and several other towns are in the process of the FEMA mitigation grants now.
Yeah, exactly
And,
right. So this would be someone who could be signed on as the project admin, handle all the invoices, handle all the, reports.
And a lot of patience dealing with the FEMA individuals.
Yeah,
A lot of patience.
they may not be around much longer.
No, that's true.
I've heard some scary things.
It's definitely gonna be thinner, but that doesn't stop the bureaucracy. If anything, it's not gonna speed it up.
No.
Any other comments? I had one for yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I have one I just wanted to share, and it's sort of FEMA related, in that the town of Woodbury is having a real hard time getting re-registered with sam.gov. We've been working at it for about 2 months, and the biggest issue, it seems, is that the fact that our town office has a East Callis address, and they just don't seem to get it. But it seems like we're almost there, and then we're back to square one, and we have a couple of pending grants that require us to be able to access sam.gov, and then some cage thing, and then on the next step is FEMA Go, government operations. And we haven't been able to get anywhere, and just getting through the door. And the person from Vermont Emergency Management that we've been dealing with, who isn't really able to help us, says that Woodbury is very unique in this, and we've never had this problem before. It's just filling out a thing on a computer, and each year you're re-registered. But I don't know who the heck we're dealing with. I kind of dropped out of the process, but our recovery officer and our new town treasurer are still working at it. And it's I don't know why, but I just wanted to share with you that it's been pretty frustrating. We have one grant that we have, the deadline for submitting it is April 15th, and the town itself has to submit it through this FEMA Go thing. And if we aren't able to resolve this, I guess we just kind of lose out on the grant. But
Michael, they've tried calling the service number.
they've been calling, and I guess our new town treasurer is actually asking for an in-person meeting to work this out. But so it's been really weird. And I'm not blaming it on the present administration, but I don't know if that's part of it. I don't know what's going on with this. It just seems that that whoever we're dealing with just doesn't understand. This seems to be kind of stuck on this mailing address, and so we've had to present a physical address, which we've been able to do, but they are insisting on a mailing address, and yeah, I don't know. It's federal bureaucracy, I guess. But
What's the mailing address for your
our-
office?
well, the mailing address is Post Office Box 10, Woodbury, Vermont. So Woodbury has its own post office, but they don't do any rural delivery. There's nobody taking the mail anywhere. So the rural delivery routes, one is from East Callis and the other is from Hardwick. So depending on where you live in Woodbury, yeah, like I live in South Woodbury, I have an East Callis mailing address. And the town office is basically part of the East Callis mailing address, but it has a Woodbury mailing address because the town clerk will go to the post office and pick up the mail.
But all of the grants go through now electronically, so I just put down PO Box 10 Woodbury.
Sure they've tried.
There
Yeah.
is a verification process that goes on when you're registering for SAM.gov, so I understand what he's running
Yeah.
into. I just lucked out when we had questions a couple of years ago to actually get a person who could help us, but
That was a different administration.
well, we recently had a contractor that was having difficulty getting through as well, so.
Yeah.
Sorry for this.
Lawrence, we have the same issue, not having a post office. So what we've done is just write, instead of writing Barry, which is where the post office comes out of, we just write Orange and use the Barry zip code and it's going through.
That's what I do
So-
personally. I like to write South Woodbury instead of East Callis, but every now and then the post office leaves me a little card saying, you know, please don't.
I like to tell a
Don't
story.
worry, they're gonna go away too.
I love to tell a story about 1971. My first wife's grandmother sent us a letter. It was addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Susan D. Amigo on OILK Street. We lived on POLK Street in San Francisco, and it got there.
Wow.
Yeah, with no undue delay. I mean, that's how good the post office was 50 years ago. And yeah, on the grants, do we go for any grant direct payment, or are they all through like transportation agency, or how
Well, we have one.
do we do them through E-Delphi?
We'll try and
Oh,
been working on that with our SS4A, which is a US DOT safety planning grant. And it's just been crickets from the folks who set you up at eDelphi. Even when our FHWA project officer is reaching out, they're not even hearing back. It's a little bizarre. But good thing is we got a grant extension on that one, and now we just need to figure out the payments.
who's doing,
Who will be doing the work related to
yeah,
that?
who's doing the E-Delphi? Who's
Oh.
designated to do that?
It'll be myself and Ruben.
Okay,
And then we'll transfer to the finance manager.
I mean, if you're having trouble, just use, I know, I've done E-Delphi.
Mhm.
So, to me, I think even the people on the federal side will tell you it's a pain in the ass.
It's just getting it set up right now, getting our names in the system.
Yeah.
Once they do that, we'll be good, but that's.
Okay,
finding
but just
someone who
filling
can-
out, knowing how to,
Yeah,
I still make mistakes, but after a few times, I've figured out how to redo it, so.
yeah.
I had one other comment. I know it's gonna be late in the year, but the building owner didn't shovel the sidewalk. It just goes around the out to
They
our
don't
door,
always, yeah.
and we're not, and everyone doesn't park out back, or, you have to walk down,
Yeah.
actually walking down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we could just comment to them. I know this wasn't a big storm. It didn't last. And hopefully this will all be melted out by tomorrow, mostly melted by tomorrow.
that's a
Anyway,
good point. Slippery roads.
Yeah.
Would be.
okay, so that concludes, well, our meeting, except we need a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
I make the motion, we go into executive session under 1 VSA, section 313A3 to discuss personnel matter.
Okay, it's
Is
16.
anyone invited to go with you?
We would, I
Need to-
believe, yes, and we would like to have Christian invited in.
Okay, so 16:45. All those in favor of the motion
It
to
hasn't
go into
been
exec,
seconded yet.
Hmm?
Has it? Has it been seconded?
Oh, yeah, no second.
Second it.
Michael.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Right?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.